Hi Film Loom here today, we're delving into the action film Go for Broke. Be warned, spoilers lie ahead. The film opens with Zhang Yao adrift at sea. A retired soldier, Zhang now fishes with his former army comrades to provide for his family. The narrative then jumps forward 7 months, to Zhang's return home. He finds his restaurant closed and his wife missing. A neighbor reveals a devastating truth: Zhang's wife has become a drug addict, living under a bridge with others in similar straits. A shocked Zhang immediately searches for her, finding her in a desperate state. A flashback reveals the tragic sequence of events. Thugs had visited her restaurant months prior, tricking her into consuming heroin-laced alcohol. This single incident sparked an addiction that led her to sell all their possessions to fuel her habit. In a moment of drug-induced desperation, she even abandoned their daughter on the street, where the child was tragically killed by a truck. Back in the present, overwhelmed by guilt, Zhang's wife attempts suicide by jumping from a railing. A distraught Zhang intervenes, pleading with her to reconsider. He promises to get her help and assures her recovery is possible. However, consumed by despair, she takes her own life, leaving Zhang utterly devastated. The story then advances 2 years. We meet Andu, a police officer conducting a raid on a drug trafficking hideout. He successfully seizes a large quantity of drugs and arrests several addicts. However, a man arrives, demanding the return of most of the seized narcotics. He explains that only 2 packages are needed for evidence, as the remaining drugs belong to Mukun, the city's notorious drug kingpin. Frustrated but powerless, Andu reluctantly complies. The film then introduces Mukun, an aging and ailing man. He is visited by Haida, his trusted right-hand man, who informs him about his illegitimate son, Soong. Haida reveals that Soong is currently incarcerated in the Philippines, a highly dangerous convict. Soong's backstory is revealed. After his mother's death, he grew up on the streets, becoming a gang leader at a young age. Haida emphasizes Soong's extreme violence, mentioning his involvement in numerous murders and even alluding to cannibalistic acts. Mukun instructs Haida to bring Soong to him by any means necessary. The scene transitions to Soong peacefully sleeping in his prison cell. Suddenly, guards storm the cell, attacking him. After Soong seemingly dies, Zhang Yao enters the cell. He dons Soong's uniform and inflicts cuts on his own face to resemble the deceased criminal. The following morning, Zhang, now posing as Soong, is released from prison. He boards a ship to the city, where he is met by Andu. It's revealed that Andu has recruited Zhang to impersonate Soong to dismantle Mukun's drug operation. Zhang also seeks personal revenge for the ruined drugs brought upon his wife and daughter. Andu instructs him to fully embody Soong's persona and gain Mukun's trust to bring down his criminal empire. The narrative then introduces Anpei, Mukun's trusted business partner and the city's chief police commissioner. Mukun and Anpei discuss Soong's impending return with anticipation. Andu arrives at Mukun's residence, revealing himself to be Anpei's nephew. He encounters Anpei's young mistress, Nancy, who informs him of the men's meeting. Andu notices bruises on Nancy and inquires if his uncle inflicted them. She denies it, claiming responsibility for saying the wrong thing. Andu is visibly disturbed, revealing his affection for her. Later, Zhang, as Soong, arrives at Mukun's house, projecting an intimidating and fearless demeanor. He immediately engages in a brutal fight with one of Haida's henchmen, demonstrating his ruthlessness. Mukun intervenes, overjoyed to see his son. He embraces Zhang, overcome with emotion. However, a lingering doubt prompts Mukun to discreetly take a blood sample from Zhang for a DNA test. That evening, Mukun throws a lavish party to celebrate Soong's return. He receives the forged DNA test results, confirming the man's identity as his son. Mukun takes to the stage and proudly introduces Zhang to the assembled guests as his long-lost heir, solidifying Zhang's infiltration into Mukun's inner circle. Mukun gifts Zhang his Buddha necklace, signifying his role as his successor. Zhang immediately assumes his role, tasked with locating Bale, a drug dealer who recently stole from them. Leading a group of henchmen, Zhang arrives at a dilapidated building swarming with thugs. He confronts Bale, but is immediately attacked. Displaying his military training, Zhang effortlessly defeats and kills all the thugs. He then brutally beats Bale, preparing to execute him. However, Bale pleads for his life, promising servitude. Zhang returns to Mukund's residence, presenting Bale and the recovered goods. Mukund is delighted, impressed by his son's success in retrieving the stolen drugs and subjugating their enemies. This solidifies his trust in Zhang, entrusting him with inspecting their drug production facilities. Over the following days, Zhang, accompanied by Bale, tours their factories nationwide. He implements operational improvements, significantly boosting their profits. Zhang meets with Andu, providing the locations of all their factories and shipping routes. Andu insists this isn't enough, revealing Mukund's private vault containing vast amounts of illicit money and evidence of bribed officials. He explains Mukund's power stems from his partnership with Anpei and urges Zhang to orchestrate a conflict between them. That evening, Zhang dines with Anpei, informing him of a reduced profit share of 10%, down from the current 40%. Anpei is furious, asserting his allegiance to Mukund. Zhang calmly presents a video of Anpei committing murder, threatening exposure. In response, Anpei has Zhang arrested and imprisoned. This act sets the stage for the orchestrated conflict between Mukund and Anpei, fulfilling Andu's plan to dismantle their criminal network. That evening, Bale and his men attack the police station with Molotov cocktails and gunfire to free Zhang. Simultaneously, Anpei, on his way home, receives news of the attack and becomes enraged. He calls Mukund, informing him of his son's actions, sparking a heated argument that exacerbates Mukund's declining health. Anpei's car is then targeted by a bomb, sending it crashing into a drain. Meanwhile, Andu frees Zhang from his cell, explaining a change of plans. Mukund is dying, and Zhang must obtain the vault's password and location before he passes. Zhang reaches the dying Mukund, who apologizes for abandoning him and his mother. He reveals the vault's location and that the password is within the Buddha necklace. Satisfied, Zhang reveals his true identity, telling Mukund that he is not his son and that the real Soong is dead. Mukund is shocked but dies before he can react. Zhang returns to the living room and announces Mukund's death. The lawyer begins reading the will, which designates Soong as the next chairman and sole inheritor. Heida objects violently, shooting the lawyer and revealing his ambition to take control, claiming his long-standing loyalty to Mukund as his justification. He opens fire on those who disagree, plunging the house into chaos. Zhang, Andu, and Bale join forces against Heida and his men. Overwhelmed by the enemy numbers, they retreat, detonating a bomb within the house. While many of Heida's henchmen are killed, Heida survives and attacks Zhang. Andu intervenes, driving his car into Heida, pinning him against a statue. The force of the impact causes the statue to collapse, crushing and killing Heida. With the immediate threat neutralized, Zhang informs Andu of the vault's location and hands him the Buddha necklace containing the password. Suddenly, Bale draws a gun on Zhang, and Andu's demeanor shifts to sinister. The truth is revealed: Andu is a corrupt officer who has been manipulating events to seize Mukund's empire. He had been waiting for an opportunity, which presented itself when Mukund sought help finding his son. Andu chose Zhang, recognizing his exceptional military background and the personal tragedy caused by drugs. The entire operation was orchestrated by Andu, with Bale as his accomplice. Andu doesn't kill Zhang immediately, as he needs him for the next stage of his plan. He confesses to murdering Anpei earlier that night and framing Zhang by planting his fingerprints at the scene. Andu intends to become a celebrated hero by apprehending Soong, the supposed murderer of the chief police commissioner. After arresting Zhang, Andu holds a press conference, exposing Mukund's drug operation. He then launches a highly publicized city cleanup campaign, destroying Mukund's production facilities, including setting fire to factories, resulting in the deaths of many workers, most of whom are innocent civilians. Having successfully dismantled the drug mafia, Andu was lauded by his department and promoted to chief police commissioner. Unbeknownst to them, Andu has instructed Bale to conceal the drug packages, allowing him to establish his own secret drug trade. Andu enters Mukund's secret vault, discovering a staggering $2 billion in cash. This discovery solidifies his ambition, and he begins plotting the next phase of his ascent to power. Days later, Andu organizes a memorial service for Mukund and Anpei at the same location. The event attracts significant media attention, as the public was unaware of their business relationship. Andu has also invited all of the deceased's associates, planning to eliminate all remaining competition in a single strike by bombing the funeral hall. Nancy reunites with Bale, sharing an emotional embrace. Moments later, Andu detonates the explosives, obliterating the funeral hall and everyone inside. Simultaneously, the vault containing the $2 billion explodes behind Andu, leaving him stunned. He realizes Zhang is responsible. A flashback reveals the trio's backstory. Nancy is the daughter of a dedicated anti-drug police commander murdered by Mukun's gang. She worked as a doctor at a rehab facility, where she met Bale's younger sister, an addict. Despite Nancy's efforts, the girl relapsed and died. Nancy, grieving her father and witnessing the devastation caused by drugs, encountered Bale, who was mourning his sister. They found common ground in their shared loss and visited a shelter beneath a bridge, where families of addicts lived in squalor. When drug dealers attacked the shelter, demanding money, Zhang intervened, saving Nancy and Bale. This incident cemented their alliance, uniting them in a quest for revenge. Nancy infiltrated Anpei's life, using her charm to gather information. She then targeted Andu, exploiting his resentment toward his uncle. Bale posed as a drug dealer, deliberately appearing during Andu's raids. Zhang entered the picture when he learned Andu sought someone to impersonate Soong. They strategically positioned themselves as Andu's pawns, harboring their own agenda. Back in the present, Andu, admiring their elaborate plan, declares nothing will stop him from becoming the next drug lord. He orders the execution of Bale and Nancy, who are gunned down. However, before dying, Nancy activates an explosive device concealed in her arm, killing all of Andu's henchmen. Enraged, Andu shoots Zhang and throws him from the building. Believing he has finally achieved victory, Andu celebrates. He is shocked to discover a camera recording him. Zhang's friends have been live broadcasting Andu's actions on city television. The central police chief, witnessing the broadcast, dispatches a heavily armed team to arrest Andu. The corrupt officer resists arrest, but is ultimately overpowered and shot dead.